everyone, it's Alice, and today we're gonna do part 2 of my bookshelf tour, and today we'll be taking a look at all of my classics, of which there are quite a lot. I am a real sucker for a classic in a beautiful edition, and unfortunately for me, they make quite a lot of them, and most of the ones that I have now are from like back in the day when I was a little bit more obsessed with like collecting them, but I have read quite a lot of them, and I'm actually really excited to show them to you because I have a lot of beautiful, beautiful books. There are quite a lot of them though, so we should probably just get into it. I think we'll start with this shelf over here where I have gathered a lot of my beautiful classics, and I've sort of just chosen these based on how they look and like the aesthetics and how they all go together, because this shelf is sort of exposed, I guess, so it's very visible and I wanted it to look good. I think we'll just start at the top here and I'll show you some of these, but first I have to remove all of this stuff. Starting on the left here, we have these 4 books by Iris Murdoch, and I actually haven't read anything from this author, which is really terrible of me. I saw these editions and I just thought they were so beautiful, and I just got 4 of them because I'd heard about this author and it's one of those authors that I just feel like I'm going to like. So I just got them and they are beautiful. I've been told that this one is a good one to start with, The Sea, so this might be the first book that I read by her. But these other ones are also beautiful, so yeah, I haven't heard about a lot of these, but I have heard about this. So I think my first might be this or this one. Then I have these books, which I've had for a really long time, and I again kind of bought them because they were beautiful. I've read this one. This is a poetry book about bees, which I really liked, but I think I maybe have read one more of these, but I do really want to read this one. I've heard a lot of good things about it, and these editions, again, I kind of got them because they were just beautiful. Next to that, I have my Jane Austen books, which I have in these vintage editions, which I really, really like. They have like French flaps and beautiful end papers, and I just really like them. There are a lot of beautiful Jane Austen like collections around, but these are the ones that I have. And I actually haven't read everything by Jane Austen, but really, really should. Pride and Prejudice is my favorite Jane Austen, and I think maybe Emma is my second favorite. I do want to reread Sense and Sensibility because I read this ages ago, and I think if I reread it, it might take second place. And then I think Mansfield Park is the only one that I haven't read, which is the longest one, which is probably why I've put it off. Then last for this shelf, I have these Everyman's Library short story collections. So I have one on the top here because it didn't fit. And I've read a few of these. I've read ghost stories, which I really liked. And I think I've read Stories of the Sea, maybe London. I can't fully remember, to be honest, but this is the one that I remember the most, that I liked the most. And these are just very pretty, and I do like short stories, so these kinds of books are fun to read for me. On the shelf beneath that, I have these books and these ones, which I couldn't fit anywhere else. I do have a poetry shelf, which I'm going to show you in another episode, but I just put these here because they are, like, a lot of it is classic poetry, and they're like anthologies, and they're just beautiful, so I thought they fit on this shelf. This is A Poem for Every Autumn Day, Winter, which is beautiful, Spring. I mean, the design of these are just amazing. Like, they're so beautiful. I've read a few of these and I feel like they're great ways to like discover new poets, and I do really like reading poetry, and when you get them in these beautiful editions, it's just perfect. Beneath that, I have some of these ones. I can't remember what these are called. Oh yeah, The Art of the Novella. I have collected a few of these because I just thought they were interesting, and I do like reading classics in like short story form. I read this one and this one, and I think this one, but I do still really want to read this one. I forgot a little bit that I had it, but these are very simple, but I really like them. Next, I have these fairy tales by Hans Christian Andersen, and these are just beautiful, and I read a lot of these when I was a kid, but I wanted to have some pretty editions as an adult as well. And like this one is my favorite. Like it's so pretty. Next to that, I have these vintage modern classics, which are like naked hardbacks. I can see that Rebecca is upside down. I don't know why, but I love this book. This is one of those books that I had for such a long time and I kept putting off to read because I knew I was gonna love it. And then I read it and I loved it. It was amazing. And I think my next read out of these ones is gonna be Frenchman's Creek. I kind of got this like back in the day ages ago because I was collecting these editions and I just found it. But this is like an adventure story and it has pirates in it, which I don't know if I knew when I picked it up, but that sounds amazing. So definitely want to read this soon. I do say that about a lot of books though, so we'll see. And we'll put this back the right way up. I have also read Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. This is a very beautiful edition. And I've read at least this one. This is The Magic Toy Shop. This was super weird, but I really liked it. And sometimes I forget what I've read, to be honest, but I think I've read this one as well. And it's beautiful. Don't remember a lot from it though, so I should probably reread it. I think I've read it. But yeah, these books are just beautiful. At the end here, we have this edition of Frankenstein, which is quite like minimalistic, but I really like it. And Frankenstein is actually one of the few books that I sort of collect editions of. So I have a lot of Frankenstein editions. It's like this and The Secret History that for some reason I just have a lot of them. And then we have these painted classics or painted editions. I can't remember what they're called, but they are beautiful. They all come with these like things on top, which maybe you're supposed to take off, but I really like them, so I'm keeping them on. This is The Secret Garden, which is one of my favorite books from childhood, and I just had to get this edition because it was so beautiful. I really, really like these, and they're beautiful all the way around. They have like foil, they have foiled edges as well, and they're so beautiful. I kind of want to get all of these, but I'm trying to restrain myself, so far I only have these three. I also have Anne of Green Gables, which I actually never read as a child, but I've read it as an adult, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's such a lovely story, and this edition is beautiful. And then the last one is Frankenstein, which I kind of just had to get because I love this book so much, and this edition is one of my favorites that I've seen of Frankenstein. Like, it's just so good and very atmospheric, and I really need to reread this book. Oh, I forgot to say actually, some of the pages are like illustrated. They're all the same illustration throughout though, so it's not really illustrated, but it has some of these pages, and they're just beautiful. I have seen an edition of this in like The Great Gatsby, which I kind of want to get, but trying to restrain myself. But I do have these three, and they're beautiful. Moving on, we have these Oxford Worlds classics, I think they're called, and I have a whole stack of these. And a few years ago, I sort of got into the habit of just picking these up whenever I saw one that interested me, but I actually haven't ended up reading that many of these. I've read like The Yellow Wallpaper, I've read, I think this one, and I got like On the Origin of Species by Darwin because my grandfather told me that I should read it, and it was like a shame that I hadn't. But I don't really know. I don't gravitate towards these a lot, but I like having them, so occasionally if I want to read one of these, I'll pick them up, but I haven't read one in quite some time. I do think I have one that's like Letters by Bronte, which I do kind of want to read, but I just never really get around to these ones. On the shelf beneath that though, I have this whole stack of poetry books. Again, I'm gonna do like a poetry section, but these are like classics, so I'll just show them here. I have actually read a good chunk of these, and I have like different ones. They come in like themes, but then there's also like author specific ones. And yeah, I just think these are very pretty, and I like reading this kind of poetry. In the collections that are themed, you get poetry from all kinds of different authors, and then obviously the author specific ones are just author specific, but I really like these, and I think this one is really cool looking. This is like poems bewitched and haunted, so they're kind of like spooky. We also have some Christmas poems, and a lot of these I've tabbed when I've read them, and I really like them. I have a few left that I should read, but in general, I've read like a good chunk. I'm gonna mention these ones in my nonfiction episode, but these are like art books. And then we have my beautiful F. Scott Fitzgerald books. These are just really beautiful. They're all foiled. Haven't read a lot of these. I think that I've read this one. This is This Side of Paradise. And then of course I've read The Great Gatsby, which is actually one of my favorite classics. I think it's such a good book, and I do need to reread it, but I haven't done it yet. This one is also particularly beautiful. I love this Art Deco style, and actually in these, there's like in the back, you can take this off to make like a bookmark, which I think is really cool. I haven't done it because they're not that thick, so I don't know if I would like to use them. I think they would get ruined, but I like the idea of having like a matching bookmark to the book. Like, that's a really good idea, and it's the same in all of these. Lastly, for this shelf, I do also have these ones stacked here because I just couldn't fit them anywhere else, but these are the Penguin Black Minis or something like that. I think that's what they're called, and I have a nice little selection of these. This is one of my favorite stories by Edgar Allan Poe, and I would say that I've read maybe like half of these. I should read the rest, and I really like these for when you just want a classic that is very, very short. I also have one singular book of like these editions of classics. These are very like cheap, so if you want some cheap classics that look pretty good, these are great. This is Gothic Tales by Elizabeth Gaskell, and I just picked it up because I found it secondhand, and I like Gothic stories. Moving on to the big shelf, again, we just have a lot of different editions of different classics. We have more Penguin, we have some Rhodes classics, we have some shorter classics, and then we have my Persephone collection here, which I love. This angle is a little bit awkward because this is the top shelf, but at the very top here, we have these two books by P.D. James, The Mistletoe Murder and Sleep No More. These are like short story collections. I've read both, really like both. We have an edition of one of my favorite books. This is 1984 by George Orwell. I really like that this is like blacked out. You probably can't see it on camera, but if like the light hits the right way, you can read the title. But I just really like the concept of this book. And I think this is a book that everyone should read, to be honest. It's so good, and it really makes you think. And I think about this book all the time. Over here, we have these Rhodes classics, which I don't think they make anymore. I think this publishing house went out of business, I'm not sure, but I've never been able to find any more than these. But we have, for instance, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, which is an excellent book. We also have another edition of Frankenstein, which is great. And we have an edition of Dracula, which is kind of like creepy, but I really like this cover. It's a real shame that they don't make these anymore because they're really good quality, like the paper is really good quality, and I really like these. They're kind of minimalistic, but I think they're really cool, so I wish I could get more, but I have a pretty good collection, so I'm happy with that. Next to that, we have these Penguin books. I can't remember what this series of covers is called, but I really like these. They're very like, they have art on them, and all of this is different on all of the books, which I just think is really cool. This is an excellent book. I read this a few years ago, and again, it's a book that I think about a lot. We Have Always Lived in the Castle is also a great one. I really like the cat on this. The Crucible, still haven't read, but this is one of my favorite design choices ever. This penguin and the little like cauldron. For some reason, this makes me really happy. I do still need to read some of these. I think the one that intimidates me the most is East of Eden. Everyone tells me that I'm gonna love this book, but I'm a little scared of it because it's so big, but one day I'll read it, and I'm sure I'll love it. And then next to that, we have two of these just like regular penguins. I want like more of these, but I'm trying not to buy books just because I like the editions, but these classic penguin editions are very pretty. We have a few smaller books here. I have a couple of Shakespeare books because I have this dream that I'm gonna get into Shakespeare. Still haven't been able to do that, but I just really like these editions. I am like a little bit familiar with Shakespeare, but I've never read his work, so I think that would be fun to do someday. Then we have some more of these like short classics. Can't remember what these are called. Penguin Moderns, maybe? We have some Daphne du Maurier, some different things. I've read a few of these, but not all of them. And then we have these beautiful books. These are the Penguin cloth-bound minis, and I just think these are really beautiful. And again, I love a short classic. I haven't read a lot of these, but I really want to. I really like Italo Calvino, so I want to read more from him. I have read this one, though. This is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. This is one of the weirdest books I've ever read, but it was also surprisingly sad, and I feel like it's really worth the read. But yeah, I want to read all of these ones as well, but you know how it is, can't get to everything. I have this random edition of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens up here. I haven't read this book. I know I should, but I still haven't read it, but I do have it. Then we have some more Penguin cloth-bound books. We have Animal Farm by George Orwell. This is another book that I think about all the time and that I think that everyone should read. We have War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, which I'm not going to take out because it's so big and heavy. But I have actually read this one, and it was good, but there's a lot of like military stuff in here that I wasn't interested in. But I liked it. But my favorite by Leo Tolstoy is definitely Anna Karenina. I would say that this is one of my favorite classics of all time, actually. It's so good, and even though it's long, it's such a beautiful story, and I really want to reread this one day as well, but I mean, it does take a while to read, but such a good book. I love it. On the next shelf, we have my lovely Persephone Classics collection. I love this collection, and I guess we have some postcards up here. Oh, and a bookmark. These bookmarks come with every single book, and it matches the end papers of the book, which I think is really cool. I guess this one fell out of one of them. Persephone Books is an independent publisher, though, I think, and they publish like forgotten classics, which I think is really cool. And I have read quite a lot of these. I think my favorite author that Persephone publishes is Dorothy Whipple. I've read, I think, most of her books, and I love them. I think my favorite by Dorothy Whipple is this one. It's They Were Sisters, and this is a story about three sisters who marry three very different men and end up with very different lives, and it's so good. The design of these are obviously quite minimalistic, but then each of them have end papers that are different, and I'm pretty sure these are end papers that are like from the time when the book came out or something like that. I do really love these editions, though. I realize the design is not for everyone, but I really like the sort of minimalistic style, and I feel like the books that Persephone publish are just very well curated, so I really like having these. I kind of want to get more, but because not everyone likes these like minimalistic designs, they do also have some books that they have published like this, which is more like traditional, I guess, and it's a little more maybe appealing to some people. I like both. I think these are beautiful as well. And yeah, these are just beautiful books. And I think that the paper quality is just really good. They feel like heavy and really well made, so it feels like a luxury to have, I feel. At the end of this shelf next to my Persephone books, I do have these Christmas classics that are beautiful. I'm not a huge Christmas person, but I do like reading Christmas books, so I've sort of collected these. We have another edition of The Christmas Carol, actually, which I still haven't read, and I just think these are very pretty, and yeah, I just really like them. We do also have one contemporary book, which I couldn't fit on the shelf beneath, but that's not a classic. Okay, so these are the last 3 shelves of classics. Again, I just have a lot of classics that I've accumulated over the years. But on this shelf, we have my Agatha Christie's, we have the Penguin English Library books, we have some red-spined vintage books, and the Penguin Modern Classics. And we have a lot of books here. And I'll be honest, I probably have not read most of these, but we're just gonna go through them. Again, a slightly awkward angle here, but on the top here, I have my Agatha Christie books, Most of these books are Poirot books, but I have some like Miss Marple, some of these ones, which I actually haven't read, but I was given these ages ago, so I still have them. And I really like Agatha Christie. They're sort of cozy, but still dark. And I love Poirot as a character. He's one of my favorites. I do think that my favorite book ever by Agatha Christie, though, is And Then There Were None. I just think this is such a clever mystery and super atmospheric and very well worth the read. I have read most of these other ones, sort of like here and there throughout my life. I haven't read a lot of Agatha Christie in recent years, but I should really kind of reread all of these, but yeah, maybe one day when I have a lot of time, I will. Next to that, I do have these books by Carrie Greenwood. These are the books in the Phryne Fisher series. I guess these are technically not classics, but I didn't show you these in the mystery episode, so I'm just going to show you them here. The first book is Cocaine Blues. I think these books are all out of order, but this is the first one. And if you like 1920s and badass, like, sleuths and heroines, these books are perfect. They are so much fun. They're not, like, super serious, but just a lot of fun and very entertaining. Next to that, I also have these 3, like, classics, which I can't remember really where I found these, but I have 3 of them. I think I've read 2. This is the one that I remember the most. I actually think if you like 1984 by George Orwell, you would like this because it has some similar themes, and it's very interesting and quite thought-provoking. The cover is also a little bit creepy. On the second to last shelf, we have a lot of my Penguin English Library books. I think these books are very beautiful and I really like them, and I think the spines look really good together. But I do also have these books by John Wyndham, which are really cool. Again, I haven't read all of these, but I have read The Chrysalids and The Kraken Wakes, both of which are very interesting. If you like dystopian fiction, I would really recommend John Wyndham. I really like the way that he writes. It's kind of different, but I really like it. For the Penguin English Library books, I'm not going to show you all of these, but I can show you some of my favorites. I really like this one by Thomas Hardy, Far from the Madding Crowd. I also really like this cover with the bees. We of course also have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which is an excellent book. We have another edition of Frankenstein, which I just had to get because it's so beautiful. We have The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. This is, I don't know if I would say that it's underrated, but most people read the other Brontes, and you're missing out on this one because it's really, really good. The Picture of Dorian Gray is another really good one. We have Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, which I haven't read. And then we just have a mishmash of a lot of other things. We have another edition of Dracula, which is really pretty. But for the most part, I haven't read a lot of these, but I like having them, and yeah, they are very pretty and they look great on my shelf. Then on the last shelf with classics, we have some of these red-spined vintage books. We have the Penguin Modern Classics. I have a lot of these with the white spine. They don't make these anymore. Now they have these like blue spines, which to be honest, I don't really like. So I don't really buy these like editions anymore, but I do have a good collection and I do really like a lot of these that I have. For the red spined books though, we have one of my favorites in here. Stoner by John Williams is an excellent book if you like sort of quiet character studies. I think about this book all the time. I really, really liked it. And I do also have this cool edition of Edgar Allan Poe. I do have a whole like complete collection that's like a huge book that I've already shown you in another episode, but I do also have this, and I really like Edgar Allan Poe. I also have this one, which I really need to read. Everyone tells me that this is amazing. I also have these two, which I've read, To Kill a Mockingbird, which is obviously an excellent book, and The Dumb House, which is super weird, but if you like weird books, you might be interested in it. For these books, I just have a mishmash of all kinds of things. I have some George Orwell, which I haven't read, H.P. Lovecraft, and I do also have my Virginia Woolf books in these editions. My favorite by Virginia Woolf is Mrs. Dalloway. I think this is an excellent book, and if you can read it in one day, this is perfect, especially if you read it in summer because it's set over a summer day. I'm usually not a huge fan of stream of consciousness writing, but for some reason, with Woolf, it just works for me. I've also read To the Lighthouse and the Waves, but I still haven't read Orlando, which I'm really looking forward to, but I really like Virginia Woolf. I'm a little surprised that I like her actually because of the way that the writing is, but I do really like it. We also have another John Wyndham here, actually, The Day of the Triffids. I think this might be my favorite John Wyndham. It is about plants who sort of take over, and it's terrifying. We have some more George Orwell, some Yasunari Kawabata, and then we have these blue-spined ones. I do have this one, though, which I really want to read. This is Wide Sargasso Sea, which everyone tells me I'm gonna love, and I still haven't read it, and I really want to. I also feel like I'm gonna love it, which is why I think I'm not, like, prioritizing it, I guess. I also have The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which is an excellent one, and a nonfiction book. This is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Definitely worth a read if you like true crime. I still have a lot to read here, but that's nice because then we have stuff to look forward to. And I can see now that I'm looking at the shelf that I should reorganize it because I have Virginia Woolf here and then one here, George Orwell. So I should rework this shelf a little bit, but I do like the way that these white spines look. So that was a lot of books, but we finally made it through. This really reminds me of how many of these I still want to read, and I really should get back into reading them. I need to get, like, back into the habit. But yeah, that was kind of it for today. As always, thank you very much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you soon. Bye!